Welcome back. It is me, Siobhan Elise, and I'm here with Davi Speaks today.
Oh.
I would introduce her, but I know y'all already know her because this lady is always buzzing through the streets of Miami. But we are going to get into so much. It's always a pleasure to have another woman of God here. How you feeling today?
Man, I'm blessed to be in the presence of this queen, our girl, Siobhan Lee.
Oh, come on. Listen, when I'm with a pro, because she is dominating in media, public figure, also dominating in the space of education.
Yes.
Okay, at the Florida Memorial University, stand up,
HBCU, Flow Mo.
Yes.
You know.
So when we talk about presence, Miss Davi is it. And I tell you, every time I see you, you have such a aura about you. It's more than an aura. I don't want to say that. You have such a spirit about you that is uplifting, that is confident. And it's always empowering to be next to someone who really walk it like they talk it.
I like that. And the fact that you said walking like I'm talking, that is true. That's really my mission in everything that I do. And thank you for that, because that spirit is all God. God gave me that glow.
Come on.
That's that God confidence. That's all God, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Godfidence.
And y'all know I love it when God drops into the picture, and he started a little early today. Amen.
Amen.
I was just telling Davi on my way over here, I was praying it down. And my prayer was really for his daughters, specifically for my generation. I'm a millennial. I feel like people are in a space where we're so lost, right?
Facts.
And we find ourselves looking for ourselves in culture when we are the culture. So what is really going on here is just so much confusion, because some of us may not know how to go to God. Some of us may be rejecting God. Whatever the case may be, he has really anointed me to open up my relationship that we are establishing to show those who are missing that in their space.
That's powerful. Being that we are culture shifters.
Yes.
And I think that in this age, when you're talking about as millennial age women, you know, like my auntie said, I'm a senior millennial because I am in the millennial space.
Yes.
But being that we have influence to reach intergenerations, I think that for our age group as millennials, we haven't seen that we are gatekeepers. Right? So being that we are culture shifters, we have to understand that our voice has power.
Yeah.
We have to understand that I read somewhere, I think it was Bell Hooks, he who hosts the premise hosts the power. So when you look at the media and the culture space, those power holders have definitely, you talk about God is not in the midst of those messaging.
Yeah.
In fact, God is looked at from a sense of not being omnipresent or not omniscient, that God is just a fallacy, that humankind tap in like a fable. And we all know that ain't true.
Right.
So when you look at the state of women in our particular generation, you said lost. There's been a lot of conversations, say, within the last three weeks or so.
Yeah.
Particularly to some of the younger women who will be considered Gen Z, and their imaging, their music, their art expression, it is devoid of God.
Yeah, it is. And I think to acknowledge the role that we play as millennial women in that disconnect, that's where it starts. Because I remember growing up, the generation before me was, be seen, don't be heard. Don't ask questions. It was a big communication block. So whereas I had a wonderful mother, and she physically showed me by being an example what it was to be a woman, but that conversation piece was not necessarily there. So that left a lot for me to figure out on my own, right?
What?
Yes.
I had the opposite dynamic.
Really?
For my mom to be a baby boomer. My mom was the community mom.
Oh.
So my mama, so if your mom was like that, we was besties, my mama would be your community mom. My mama would be your mama number 2.
Yeah.
And my mother had that rapport with other young ladies in my community to have those hardcore conversations that they didn't feel that they can have with their daughters. And they trusted my mother enough to be able to have those conversations, which influenced me and my late twin sister and how we show up in different environments and how we have been there for young women our age
Yeah.
that are younger than us, and even college age women, even when we were very young, because my mother modeled that for us. Yeah.
So tell me about that, because now I'm seeing where it comes from. Mommy was a community mom, so she showed you what it's like to stand up and be that pillar, right? And you do a lot of advocacy work. So I heard a few things about your story, about how it started in some trauma. Would you feel comfortable sharing that with us today?
Sure. So to get a snippet, so if y'all want to know the full details, you got to get into my book, Shameless but Intentional Plug, The Wonder Years, Me, Myself, and My Story, Volume 1, because it talks about those formative years to when at the age of 5, I found my voice in the courtroom, looking at my rapist in the face, my uncle, and saying, you lying, and you are going to take accountability for defiling me and my twin sister starting at the age of 3. So for me, Lauren Young, and having my mother, and my family to rally up behind us, to support us, gave me just the gumption and the confidence, to stand flat-footed in any situation, no matter how hard, how difficult, and how scary and how fearful, for me to give voice to it. And so that was my driving force from very young. And it wasn't pretty, sis. My God. Especially in those time of middle age years and even high school. I put in my book that I wore the scarlet letter for girls, victims of rape. Right? And even gang violence, I went through colorism. I went through growing up in the late 90s, I'm a class of 2000, that millennial, we kick off that. Yeah. I went through some stuff growing up in Miami and South Florida. And despite all the hell, all the imps that came from me, I still chose to love people. I still chose to be an advocate for people. I still chose to not be popular, right? And be talked about, been called everything a child of God. And if I could use this phrase, because it was Amber Rose, who people like to say my image looked like when she talk about slut shaming, I was embodied in that because I refused to stay silent. And that gave voice to girls and boys to tell their story of their violation. It wasn't pretty, but it was necessary.
Whoa.
It wasn't pretty, but it was necessary, because when you have been a victim survivor, you got to know how to thrive through that, even when it don't look good and it don't feel good.
Wow.
And so for me, often my years, that was my story. And then because of the backlash, because I wasn't invited to different social organizations and people, the being tarnished, by my truth and empowering people, I got silent, and then God started sending people to me. I got silent, y'all, and God would send people at the most obscure places, at the most obscure times. I'm like, how am I on set on something, somebody's pouring out their heart to me? Or I'm flying on a plane. I mean, when I tell you the most randomest places, God would send people. I had to carry the word and carry the message for them to get their freedom, their liberation.
Oh, wow. Wow. You just dropped so much. And my head is spinning right now.
You like, what else? Okay. Davi, what else? I'm going to hit Davi.
So let's take it back to the courtroom. Because you said that was the game-changing moment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it was your uncle. It was you and your twin sister started at the age of 3 years old.
Yeah, the violation started.
Wow. Okay. And how old were you when you took him to court? How old were you?
We were 5 years old, so 3. So the discovery happened at the age of 5 from my god sister, who was one of our caretakers. And so when we went through the whole thing, y'all, the whole thing with the rape kit in the rape trauma center, my sister and I even spoke about that, for them to be able to even create laws that protect children that go through that. It was the most dehumanizing experience of the things to go through, to be said to a child, what do you have on? What did you do? Like, this whole grown man, I almost cursed, this whole grown man did this to my little 3-year-old self, and you asking me, what did I do?
Oh, Jesus
so
Christ.
even when it came to conversations about just advocacy for children, when it comes to the family court, to be a part of that, during the 80s was definitely caused them to be more sensitive to children after these type of violation happened to children.
And it's because the system that surrounds those types of events that women are often silent.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, what if they don't believe me?
Facts.
What if it tarnishes my reputation? What if my family turn against me.
I've seen it.
So with all of that pressure on you at such a young age, what in your mind said, I'm going to let it out? I'm going to hold you accountable. Like, what was it in you that gave you that strength to speak up?
Because he lied. And he said it didn't happen. But here's whole semen, hair, and blood in a rape kit, but you didn't do that? Wow. Semen, hair, and blood.
Wow. So
but you didn't do it.
It sounds to me like a deep-rooted truth is something that really fuels your fire to be the voice. Yes.
Because once I knew it, let's see, when you go through something like that, and then for me, I honestly believe if my mother wasn't an advocate for me, if my mother didn't want to almost reach hell gate for cutting this Negro with a machete, you know what I'm saying? To really say, tell your story, I don't know how long it would have took me to find my voice. And I think about all the young girls and young boys that during that middle school age gap in high school, for so many of them to be silenced, because those who did speak up, their moms and their family said, no, that ain't happened. Right. Whether it was their daddies, their grandfathers, their brothers, you know, that ancestral dynamic, you know, especially in the Caribbean and African American community, you know, we like to,
that's a thing.
We got to be quiet. We want to silence everything. It didn't happen, right? These generational curses that are intergenerational. And then to hear my mom say about violations that she went through. Then when you know what I'm saying? So when you talk about deep-seated things, you know, we even see it in the text. Like, I ain't gonna preach it, but if you just look at King David, who we all know that was the one that loved after God's own heart. Incestuous rape hit his own household with Amnon and Tamar. Right? So you can't talk about it, but they shunned Tamar off in the offskirts of society, and Absalom killed him to revenge his sister. Right? So what happens when you don't talk about it?
The shame. It eats you up from the inside out.
Absolutely.
And you know, and I think that we see those dynamics playing out every day.
Every single day.
And it's so valuable for women like you and women like me to get on platforms like this and say, you know what? Nah, like that was dead wrong. This was not supposed to happen. I am not ashamed of what happened. I am not a victim. And not only am I going to speak my truth, but I'm going to free every single man or woman that has experienced this as well.
You know what I thought of? So maybe like a couple weeks ago, I was in the house cleaning, and God brought to my remembrance the movie Harriet Tubman. I ain't had no 12 gauge, but I had the power of my voice.
Yes.
I'm saying I'm taking whoever with me who willing to go. Let's tell our stories, y'all. It ain't ugly, but we're going to get this freedom.
We have to. And I think that transfers in all areas of life. I always say, like, information is my love language. If you rock with me, share with me.
I like that.
Like, we're all in this space going through completely unique experiences, and we're all together for a reason. So a part of the reason why I created this podcast was because when I was, you know, in the spaces with other business owners, we would get together, we would look cute, but no one had a real conversation.
Come on.
So I'm like, okay, well, come on, sit on this couch, and let's really talk about it. Because if we're going to be around each other, then how can I know how to feed you? How can you know how to feed me if we don't speak up? So I am loving this whole thing right now. And the fact that your name is Davi Speaks, right?
Davi Speaks.
So, okay, tell us how your mission to empower, to speak up, has landed you in the space of education with Florida Memorial. Like, tell us about that, because this is news to me.
So I know with all the stuff that you know from me doing, especially in the media space. So I am a third-generation alumnus of Florida Memorial University, the first class that graduated from Florida Memorial College to University, class of 2005. I got the call, so my name was dropped in rooms. You know what, God would drop your name in rooms that you are not privy to? That was that moment to where they wanted me to be the new executive director of advancement and alumni affairs. I got the call, was like, hey, are you open to an opportunity? Because it's Florida Memorial, let me see what y'all talking about. And so the mere fact, you know, that I came highly recruited for this position, and they didn't know the prayer that I had 3 days prior.
Tell us about it, girl.
So I was in the thick of, training with my broker at Elite Realty Partners, Inc. And, we were doing some shifting, some onboarding. And I got the call and I was like, okay, God, just asking God, what is my purpose in this season? So in the midst of some personal development courses and trainings, the refracted mirror was put before me. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, God, this is awesome. I love being here. I love the work I'm doing here with my broker, real estate, home ownership. We're closing the gap for African Americans and Afro-Caribbean people to become home owners, to take in financial literacy. And God was like, that's not it.
Yeah.
There's more to this education piece. And so when I said the prayer, and I'm like, okay, God, what does ministry in action look like for Davi? At this appointed hour, I got the call. Wasn't even 72 hours later. I went to the meeting. By the time it was a Friday, I called after having a conversation with the vice president. I called one of my cohorts who's a president of HBCU. I was like, yo, I got this. Like, yo, I need you to coach me up for this interview. I hung up with this Negro. He calls my president now. I was supposed to interview a week, baby. That Monday, I had the interview. Like, I didn't even have a whole 48 hours.
Come on.
To prepare for this interview. And then the rest was history. That is where God had me. And it's just been leaps and bounds. And even to be able to raise from, I will be a year in my position, August 29th, to over 100K of added value to educating our greats of our age, our African American, Afro-Caribbean students of our age. And it's an honor to be able to serve in this capacity.
Amen.
Yeah. We raised over 2.2 million, but just in my space for this little calculated area, over 100K.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all talk about Sierra's prayer. We're going to say Davi's prayer. What you say? What was your prayer?
Like, I literally asked God, what is my, my ministry, my purpose?
Ministry
at
in
this
action.
In ministry in action, that's what it was.
Game-changing gem number
Ministry in
one. Prayer,
action.
take it home with you.
Yeah.
What does my ministry in action look like?
That's
Ministry incredible. And so, looking back, as a public figure, as an author, as an advocate for human rights, as a talk show host, as a realtor, can you see how all of these things came together and brought you to this moment?
Absolutely, because especially when you in these money room conversations, people really want to know how much you care. In those spaces, not about how much you know. Like, I am a trench worker. I'm for the people, with the people, right?
Yeah.
So people really want to know, are you trustworthy?
Yeah.
Are you a man or woman of integrity?
Yes.
Are you good with fiduciary responsibilities? Because at the end of the day, it runs to the coin. So being that I have a long history of a track record that they could be able to look at those receipts and be able to know, you know what, we could take this to the bank. People want to work with you.
Yeah. And I love the fact that your path wasn't linear.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when God puts a vision on our heart, it intimidates us because we think the path is linear. And we don't look at our history as transferable skills. And so we don't answer the call. But we have people like you, we have people like me who have just simply followed your passions.
Yes.
Simply followed God and just trusted him and said, you know what? I'm going to use this voice and trust that you're going to lead me in the right direction, and boom, here you are.
Yes.
So I really wanted to point that out because this is all about teaching people how to navigate the business space, their career space under God's will.
That's
and
good.
I understand that it looks different than what we may have learned at home or what we may have learned in school.
Facts.
But I want to create this space so that we can all share our different experiences so people are able to identify it in their own lives and trust it.
Yes.
Because, like, who better than you? Like, you've been speaking and really showing and proving, like, your love for the community. You are an alumni, third generation. So, really, I don't think they could have found a better candidate on LinkedIn. I'm sure you're on there,
that.
but, you know.
Oh no, my name was dropped, but you're right. Maybe say, y'all saw her on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, baby, Google this one.
Oh yeah, and they Googled it. It was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So yeah.
Oh my God. God bless you. That's amazing.
Thank you. But I love what you said, you know, for me in every season and everything that I do, I'm always, God, how can people experience your glory in the earth by what I'm doing? I'm not perfect. You know, I am a non-traditional believer in the sense of my work profession, because I want people to see Christians in entertainment, right? Yeah. People of integrity, because we talked about, you know, I talked about us being culture shifters at the beginning, you know, of your podcast, is that we have to be in culture and we have to shift that atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Because if those who are non-believers are the one, he who holds the premise holds the power, and we have to subvert that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to.
I never want to create a Christian club where it's like, okay, if you don't show up under these guidelines, then, you know, keep your distance. You're a sinner. Like, what?
Right.
Do y'all know who Jesus is rocking with?
Hello.
Like, stop it.
That part.
Do y'all know who y'all was a couple years ago?
That part.
Like, stop it.
How about 5 minutes ago?
Exactly.
Let's keep it funky and fresh.
Exactly. You know, and I think the greatest expression of being a believer is showing God's love.
Facts.
And how can you love God? How can you follow God if you don't love his people? And I'm also like a non-traditional believer, because like God made me very special, okay?
Me too.
Like, I'm gonna just say
that's why we get along.
And I always say, listen, there is no one way to be a Christian. God gonna convict us when he need to convict us.
Baby, because it's really about the circumcision of the heart. But folks, if they would read their text and get into it, they would learn that. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes, but it's so important for us to still show up who we are. Like, you know, you always looking amazing and glowing. And you do, you know, you're in the entertainment industry, which is something that traditional Christians may be weary
They shy away,
you know? But it's like, well, how can we really impact and influence and dominate this earth if we're staying in our little cubbies playing scared? You know? I mean, God said don't be of the world, but we are most definitely in it. And I just believe if I'm going to be in it, I'm going to put my foot on it. Okay?
Come on, sis.
So I love, like, I'm so excited. And I've had so many incredible women who also represented like this new era of a believer to really show people like you don't have to compromise yourself to be a believer and love God. Like he wants you to be all of those things.
Absolutely.
They will be used for his glory. It's just a refining period. And that refining period is only for your protection and your betterment. So, like, really, like, what are you doing if you're not with the winning team?
Hello. They on the sidelines just watching. I'm a winner.
Yeah.
I can't be idle on the sidelines. I can't do it. Coach, you ain't even got to say put me in coach. I'm already in position. What you saying? What?
Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Facts.
But I just think that there needs to be someone to usher, you know, those who are on the sidelines into that space, to let them know it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to still go through hardship and, you know, be backstabbed or be hurt and still love people with your whole heart.
You know how hard that is?
Yeah, I do. It's hard.
I got to look at the camera. Do y'all know how hard that is?
And it's like, sometimes I think when you're a kind-hearted person, people think that that's a weakness, and baby, you do not know.
That's really my strength.
Absolutely.
Because it's easier for me to pop off, fly off, and let you catch these holy hands that ain't holy. It takes a whole lot.
It is. I keep hearing that song. I don't remember his name.
He tried like, Jesus, but don't
try me. That's the song.
Listen, I already know. When that song came out, I was like, Toby.
Try Jesus.
You all in my prayer closet.
Don't try me.
Because I got hands.
I got hands.
Yeah, that Toby.
We're still from Miami now.
Right. I tell people, listen, y'all, I am spiritually unhinged. I need you to tread with caution, okay?
But it's about the heart.
Absolutely. I love God's
how
people.
How you treat people. Okay. We see the work. We see the passion. But I want to know in your own words, how would you describe yourself?
Man.
3 words.
I thought I asked the good questions. Indomitable.
I don't know what that means.
Transformative. A designer's original.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. I know you said 3, but that designer's original, that's a compound.
Yeah, that's a compound word.
Compound, yeah.
Oh, that's powerful. Yeah. So is Davi behind closed doors the same Davi that we all see?
Definitely what you see is what you get, but there is this Davi, you know, when it comes to, how can I say, I am very hard on myself. And I've had to learn that the grace that I extend to others, I've had to learn how to extend that back to me.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm one who's big on accountability. So I hold myself accountable. And like you said, I'm one, if I speak it, I preach it, I am that. I'm walking it. So if I can't walk it out, I ain't finna talk it out.
Right.
You know, and that's big for me. So sometimes I'm hard on myself because I have, you know, when I see my vision, I get locked in, I get laser focused. And if sometimes things don't move at the acceleration that I think it, then I'm beating myself up. But God has sent so many little angels along my journey, like, Davika, I need you to pause. And I want you to look at what you've done. And I'm like, whoa, I've been so busy moving. I'm always on go. And I'm beating myself thinking that I missed the mark. And God's like, baby girl, you done super exceeded what you said you was going to do. It just ain't look like what you thought it was going to be. But baby, look what you done.
Girl, yes. Like I'm telling you, when I Googled you, it took me days. Like, this woman is one of a kind. When you talk about a soldier for the cause, a soldier for the army of the Lord, like, you have superseded that.
Wow, honored.
And I only hope that you receive just a third of the love that you pour and that you give.
I received that.
Yeah.
I received that.
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. It flew by.
Right, so fast. That's what happens when you just, you know, when you're around other kindred spirits.
Amen.
And I'm so proud of just seeing you, just even in the spaces over the years, just seeing that you are your business acumen is like, you on it. You know, you impress me every time. I've been watching you too, you know what I'm saying? Like, another thing, I don't accept everybody's invitation. I'm not jumping on just anybody podcast. You know, and being that you with Boss Nation Network, that speaks volumes. I believe in this brand. I believe in the work that Boss Nation Network is doing. You know, the work that y'all do of elevating the consciousness of our people through every space, every dominion is powerful in itself. So I'm honored that you slid into the DM, says, I need you on the show. And I'm like, say less, I'm there.
Oh my God, I receive it as well. Thank you for answering the call.
You're welcome.
Do we have time for 3 game-changing gems? Okay, gotta check with Sheba, okay? Gotta check with the boss. All right, 3 game-changing gems in your life.
Wow, wait. Okay, 3 game-changing gems. Unpack that just a little bit so I can make sure I can hit it.
So can you tell us 3 pivotal moments that really caused you to shift your perspective towards your call?
Ooh, so we talked about it, the opening one, finding my voice in the courtroom at the age of 5. It's age 16, finding out that in that violation that God protected me from being HIV infected from my uncle. So in that, knowing that when it don't look good, it don't feel good, that God's protection is always on you, right? And then I would say losing my late identical twin sister definitely even catapulted me into my purpose to carry the Wonder Twins legacy. And my life has not been the same since June 2nd, 2018, picking up the pieces as a twinless twin.
Wow. Ooh, bars.
You know, taking trauma that was meant for tragedy and turning into triumph. There go your 3.
Come on now. All right, Davi, we got to connect with you. So let us know, how can we connect with Davi Speaks?
All right, on IG, your girl is Davi Speaks, and that's DAVI Speaks _. You can catch me at Late Night with Davi on IG and Facebook. And of course, my Facebook, Davika Williams, is at maximum capacity, but you can catch me on IG and on my fan pages. And also click the link in my link tree on my IG and in my Facebook, so that way we can stay connected and we can do some consultations in real estate, interpersonal development, and even honoring like this, even when hosting and stuff like that. So I'm even limited. Like, I literally have made myself even more or less accessible to folks. Run me my value. Amen.
Period.
Ew.
Well, on that note, thank you guys for joining another week. We got some powerful gems today. Keeps getting better. Thank you again for joining me
Thank you, Siobhan.
on the couch.
Yes.
And of course, special thanks to our sponsors here at Boss Nation Network. We are for the culture. We are for y'all. Keep tuning in, and we will keep uplifting you. Until next week. Bye.